next to SpongeBob SquarePants. Gotta have a bit of everything, right?
I think we should open it up to questions from everybody. Somebody have a burning... Leo.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. If I call on you and don't know you, can you say your name so we know who you are?
Like an AA meeting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about your process, both for when you get an audition and then also when you've accepted a part and now you're kind of digging into the script outside of the rehearsal room?
I don't do anything outside of the rehearsal room. I'm sorry, I just don't think about, like I think about it maybe, but I just, because of how I've had to come up through, I didn't have time for that stuff. So I've developed whatever it is that is very personal, that I don't even know what it is. I respond to a script, and if I'm meant to play it, it's kind of easy. I don't find myself, like, the rehearsals are where, you know, you walk into a rehearsal room at the National and there's every book you need on the subject and there's pictures all over the wall, so you just immerse yourself. I don't really have a process, and like even preparing, I remember in the West End I had to get them to bring in a voice person, because otherwise I will just talk through a warm-up. Like, I just want to know what people have been doing during the day. But what I have started to do on Angels, because of its length, is I spend time on my own in the half. You know, I used to like go and visit everyone and chat to everybody, but actually I don't have the energy, and so I just close the door and listen to music. But I'm not a big one for doing anything off stage. I've seen what that can do to people, to get too obsessed with it, to get too thinky about it. I tend to let it do whatever it needs to with me. But then having said that, I think I'm going to do a movie soon about something that I want. Like, this is the great thing about choosing things now, because I can choose things that are going to educate me. So it's a movie about something awful about how waterboarding became legal somehow. And so I'll be sent loads of information about that, because that's what, like, I don't know, I know people who, when they were going to play Hamlet, they went to Elsinore and stuff, and I'm like, oh, good for you. But I just don't, I tend to be very, I let it happen. And, you know, there's this story about Philip Seymour Hoffman, you know, who was a fantastic, brilliant, amazing actor, but he couldn't let go of how he tortured himself when he was working. And I don't want to be somebody who tortures themselves to play a part, because when I watch children playing, they don't torture themselves. They don't like get so caught up in, I have to pretend to be a doctor. How do I pretend to be a doctor? They just pretend to be a doctor, you know. And so for me, like, my greatest inspiration is my 5-year-old nephew, because he's so completely free. Kids, before they become self-conscious, are how I try to be on stage. So maybe that's a part of a process. But too much reading, or like having to, I don't know. We watched a lot of documentaries for Angels in America, but that's a privilege, and that happens in the room with everybody, and people came in and talked to us, and so I'm completely open to being given information. But in terms of psyching myself up or doing, I'm not very good.
How many weeks do you get? Let's say with people, places, things. How many weeks?
Well, we had 2 weeks to rehearse it to get it to New York.
No, but
so we had done it for 4 weeks.
In the beginning?
4 weeks.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
4 weeks, and then we started previews.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the same. So, but in those 4 weeks, you're like, every day we were doing, like, oh God, we had so many great people come in and everything. But I'm like a kid, like a toddler. When I get tired, I am a disaster. And Jeremy was the best, because he could see that, and he was the first director. I remember he was giving me notes on the final scene with the parents, and I was like, these are really good notes, but I'm so tired. And he went, go to bed. And he sent me to bed for 2 hours, and then when I came back, we started work again. Because he was like, there's no point in this push. We do this push thing, I have to push. But actually you can be most creative when you're rested and when you've drunk enough water and you've eaten properly. It's really basic stuff that I now think about when I'm getting ready to do something, you know. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Don't be any of those things.
Anyone? A question? Let's see.
There's someone there.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Kate. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Harper and your experience with her and how that's been for you? What do you love about her?
Yeah, I mean, oh God, it's become really, it's different
I'm
now.
sorry to interrupt you. How many people have actually seen this performance? It's still early, but oh, good. All right. In Angels.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, oh God, it's different than at the National because Tony has rewritten parts of Perestroika. He put back in a scene that was gone from last year that actually really helps me because, first of all, I get really pissed off when Harper is described as a Valium addict. That's not what she is. Harper takes Valium in order to deal with the fact that she hasn't listened to her instincts and she has gotten married to a man who she knew was gay. But she forms now a very political figure in Angels in America of what is expected of women, especially under an evangelical religion. The fact that she had to be saved from somewhere, and her journey for me throughout it is toward freedom. Like, I think, I remember initially the first 2 weeks of playing her, that final speech, I played as if she was still frightened, and when she left Joe, she was frightened. But now I said to Marianne, she has to win. Like, she is devastated throughout. So you've got Pryor and Harper who are parallel throughout she's not as verbosely written. Some say underwritten, and I would agree in parts. But what she has got is this kind of poetry to her, which is fucking hard. When you ask for help from Tony Kushner about a scene and he tells you he dreamt it. Yeah, so there's that. So a lot of the time you're trying to make the words that you have as Harper be based in reality. And the first thing I wanted to do with her was take away the notion that she's on Valium all the time. Because somebody who takes Valium regularly is not as affected by it as you would think. But they are affected when they start to come off it. So anytime she tries to come off Valium, that's when the hallucinations happen. So I think it took me a while to get to that. I thought that when she took Valium, she hallucinated. But then when I researched Valium, my extensive research, which is part of my process, it turns out that actually a very mild Valium addiction, trying to come off it yourself, can cause terrible hallucinations. But yeah, so for me, Harper, because people put them together, Harper and Emma, because they say, you're playing another drug addict, which is so reductive. So playing Emma was about taking off armor all through the play, and playing Harper is about putting it on. So it's about getting her ready to go out into the world. And there is nothing quite like doing a 2-show day when I get to do her whole journey, because I come off like that. Whereas after the first half, you're a little bit like, oh, fuck, I've got 4 hours of devastation. But the greatest thing about, because now I'm working with Lee Pace, who is astonishing as Joe, just astonishing. And he and I have a deep, 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 deep love for each other off stage, and what happens on stage is you see these two children, like they were brought up together under a Mormon, really, really full-on Mormon religion. Also, among Mormons in Utah is the highest level of prescription drug addiction. No, I didn't know that until this time around. And so the fact that he's gay, rather than it being like a get away from that gay man Harper thing, it's like, it's about love, and love is not, it's not his fucking fault. He goes about it in maybe the wrong way, but these two people kind of help each other to be free. And I always think, when Lee and I first met about it, I thought we were walking his dog, around the West Village, and I thought, this is what I see for them in 10 years. When they've gone away from each other and healed and done all of that, they will see just how important they were in each other's journeys, you know. So it's fantastic. Doing it with Lee is a real experience. It's really incredible.
Anyone else? Where's this? Chloe.
I did see your performance in People, Places, and Things, and I have to say it was maybe one of the most moving things I've ever seen an actress do, which for me was very important because
Or an actor.
I have many thoughts about men, but
All of them good.
yes, many of them positive, much of them not. Sorry. Anyway, so what I had a question about was sort of how did you? I suppose it's somewhat rhetorical in a way, but like, you know, a lot of what I had read, a lot of the literature I had read about you, as I had slowly become obsessed.
Literature, I love it. There's literature on here.
Yes, I did. I know. I spent many nights at 1 o'clock in the morning.
My parents
like,
would
what about Denise Gough? And so I suppose one of my biggest questions was like, what was it that just kept you going? Because there's been so many times when I literally removed myself from the business because I could not. And so seeing that performance was like, oh my God, how?
Do you mean what kept me going on stage, or what kept me going to keep me?
The duration of your career.
Yeah, but I was giving up. I was going to, and I don't see it as giving up. I had learned. I have a friend who taught me how to do classes, to do a very specific masterclass that he had learned at Le Coq Theatre in Paris, and he gifted me this masterclass, and so I went to a university and I did this class with young students, and I was completely overwhelmed by my reaction to it, and so I had thought, I can stop trying to be an actress now, because I can do this too. Like, I love this, because I get very frustrated at this kind of giving up to be a teacher. Actually, it's just taking a different route into doing the same thing, which is being really creative. And so I wasn't going to keep going. So if I hadn't gotten People, Places, and Things, I was done. Like, genuinely. And I had finally gotten to a real place of, wow, what's next? Okay, fucking hell, I had a good run, you know, I've worked with some amazing people, I had done a lot of theatre. My father said to me, you know, if you were 14 and somebody handed you a piece of paper with everything you've managed to achieve so far, how would you feel about that? And I thought, fuck man, I did really good. Some people don't ever get to work even, you know? So I wasn't going to continue. But then I was needed to continue, because to me it was like, that year out of work too, like I said, prepared me for what happened with People, Places, and Things, because it meant I could see it all for what it was, everything. So suddenly I'm this overnight sensation, all of that. I have such a sense of humor about it, because I don't need all of that stuff. What I have gotten from doing People, Places, and Things is I have now got choices in doing good work, and that is all I've ever wanted. And so all the other stuff, and especially here in America, it's really interesting because I have a team now. And it's so funny talking to them about what they think I want, you know? Like, I had to say to a publicist the other day, if I need you to hold my fucking handbag, I will ask you to. Stop trying to get me to give you, like, not letting me do anything for myself, you know? You're really important now. And you think, oh man, I'm so glad this didn't happen sooner. I'd have been a disaster if I'd been infantilized before. Whereas now, I don't know, something about that play, yeah, I mean, if I hadn't gotten that part, then I would have been, I believe, a really great teacher. So there you go.
Anybody else? Yes.
Anthula.
Anthula.
I was fortunate to see you in Colette at Sundance.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Is it good? I haven't seen
So
it.
fucking good.
Oh, good.
You're
Phew.
amazing. She plays
Mathilde Morny. Yeah.
opposite Keira Knightley. She's
Yeah.
super love her.
Yeah. But Mathilde Morny was the first person, to the first woman to identify herself as being a man. She was like before the age of where you're able to say I'm transgender or be transgender. She was the first. She paved the way. She wore suits when it was illegal to wear suits. You know, like this amazing woman. And she was Colette's, the great writer's lover for 7 years. So that was great to be able to do, to be allowed to do that. That was, because again, you want to play, if I am going to do stuff, then I want it to be women that, or people that, you know, did things, you know, except falling in love. Although I did do a film last year that halfway through shooting it, I looked over at the guy opposite me and I thought, fuck, I'm only here because of you. I'll never do this again. I did it for the money and I was like, oh shit. So I committed that. It doesn't feel good. Like it gets to the point where they're like, they don't need to do your single because they've got his single. I was like, oh shit, I fell for it. Damn. I was a love interest, but no, that film I've not seen it, but I'm hoping. Yeah, that's good that you think it's good.
Fantastic.
Great. I love this. Anyone else seen it? Oh my God.
Francisco, I
Hi.
was just wondering, I was wondering who some of your heroes are.
I don't do that.
Oh, you don't-
I'm really sorry. I know, like, I get really funny. I did this Women of the Year lunch once, right? And I had to give an award to a woman who was instrumental in setting up the National Health Service in London. And so when I gave her the award, I was like, yeah, but have you won an Olivier?
Yeah.
So I tend to get very inspired by, like, my sister's a heart surgeon, so she really inspires me. My nephew is 5 and wonderful, and he really inspires. But in terms of, I have people I admire for sure, like Frances McDormand, I think is wonderful, and I think she's wonderful also because she's teaching us that you can age as a woman and become more interesting. So. You know, so I have people I respect, but she actually was a person who said to me, I overheard Nat, who was in People, Place and Things, he said to her, oh, Frances, I'm a huge fan, and she slapped him on the back and she said, don't want fans, just peers. And I thought that's exactly, because as soon as you go into hero worship of anyone, because I see it with people with me, like I had a girl that was working in a theatre that I was working, who would get really like this whenever I said, we work together now. Like, she was an usher in the theatre, but we're in the same company. You can't keep reacting like that every time I walk near you. Like, I find it just a little bit, I can be very like, God, I think you're fucking great, brilliant. But we're so encouraged in this industry to do hero stuff. And actually, I've just seen too many heroes behind the veil, and you just go, yeah, not so much. So I tend to get much more inspired by, like, that room, those women, Jesus, I was like, what am I doing here? There's a woman who set up like 10 different schools in India to specifically teach young girls, you know, like, those are the people you want to be looking to for inspiration for stuff. So that kind of people who do stuff without getting the gold trophies are heroic to me, you know? I get more kind of freaked out by that than, I don't know, I just, actors, also at certain levels of acting, like really high up, they get everything done for them to make it easy for them to play parts. I'm not disrespecting, but if you can't play a part really well with that much help, then there's a problem. You know, like, you know, you talk about process and research and everything. You know, if I get a part in a movie now, I will have a team of people that will be there to make sure that I have access to everything I need. But, you know, somebody playing on tour somewhere, doing a massive part in something who doesn't have access to that sort of thing, those people are, it's like really stylish people, you know, when people say, who's your style icon? You think, well, the girl who can't afford to, like, pay her rent but still looks fucking amazing. You know, Kate Moss should be a style icon. Look at all the money she has, you know. Wow, tangent. Yeah, so heroes. So the woman who set up the NHS. That's who I would say.
Are there
is a
roles,
hero.
you mentioned Streetcar and Dolls, are there roles you want to play?
Again, I've never been that kind of actress because, you know, I know that when I read those plays, I was like, that's a fucking great part, I want to play it. But I don't have, I would like to do cabaret because I sing, so, and I lost my confidence with singing, so considering how confident I am with everything else, I would like to do cabaret, and I think that would be fun. So, and I would have a stab at Hamlet, I think, just because if a woman's going to do it, it might as well be me. I'm putting together something at the moment, which, you know, the gender swapping with my friend, with a guy that I'm working with at the moment, me and James McCardo, who plays Lewis in Angels, we're desperate to do something together, and so there are things that are coming up as I go, but I've never been, I have to give my head a, you know.
Are there Irish roles? Do you feel an affinity or a desire to do things that are Irish? Is it?
Well, Sean O'Casey, I did Plough in the Stars. Sean O'Casey is amazing, and he wrote women as they are, the backbone of so many societies, and so I've been lucky enough to play that. But I've never really, I don't know them really well. Like I was never somebody who sat at home reading plays. You know, I was out smoking. You know, I didn't have that kind of, I remember at drama school there would be people who would be constantly devout, and I just would think, oh God, reading plays, unless I know I'm going to be in it, or unless I'm reading it because of a part, I find reading plays really difficult, because I want to see people. But I do remember I couldn't go to the theatre when I was really young without being desperately sad that I wasn't up there. Like, it didn't matter what I was, I just wanted to be on the stage, you know. I'm one of 11 children, so this is heaven to me, to have all these people listening.
Denise, I would love to see you in Godot, playing one of those guys.
I just don't know it, though.
But you,
Yeah, but also
funny. You're
Beckett,
so funny
I'm like,
too.
I know, I am fucking hilarious. Nobody will let me be. It's like I have tragedy written all over my face. Something funny would be good. But it's funny. Not a lot of stuff is. Like, a lot of new comedy is kind of shit, though. It's so base. Everything is so base now. Like, if you watch an episode of Cheers, nobody was swearing. I mean, I'd be a disaster because I swear so much, but nobody was swearing, or, like, it was all classy comedy. You know what I mean? I'd love to be in Veep.
Yes.
I would be great in Veep. But anyway, so yeah. I don't know what even the question was anymore.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Megan.
Hi, Megan.
I was just curious, you start talking about your team, and I know now it's probably ballooning to a place you can't even
So
imagine.
much money is
Like,
hemorrhaging from
yeah.
that.
How do you, what kind of feedback, feathers you want to take out of your hat so we can walk around with them? Like, when you start building the agents, the managers around you, what did you look for? What words of advice could you give to somebody who's just trying to build a solid support system that isn't other actors, which is huge?
Yeah.
But like these people that kind of in a way want to dictate your path, whether that's what you want it to be.
You've got. See, I'm really lucky. I found my woman, Samira Hayam, when I was, that little girl that went into her office with the bald head, and she believed in me consistently throughout everything. And so when it all blew up for us, like, she was the one that when I was on the phone crying, saying, I can't do it anymore, I can't want to get this awful shitty TV series, like, I can't do it. And she was the one who said, please don't give up. I promise you. She said to me, I promise you that at a certain point you're going to see just what it is I do, because I'm going to be trying to negotiate and navigate when you're going to do stuff. You're going to be so busy. And she waited on that for 15 years with me. So when it all kicked off and we were interviewing all the American people, we'd have, like, I was brought out to breakfast with this guy who cried at the breakfast meeting, and I was like, that's not going to happen. If this was a date, I'd be terrified. And so she and I would go together, and it was always to me, so they would focus everything on me. And I said to them, if this woman does not like you or does not think she can work with you, it's not going to happen. So really, when we talk about me, there's beside me is this fantastic woman who has helped me through everything. And so we have decided this team that we have. And for me, the agency that I went with in New York, they, because a couple of them were sending me big bunches of flowers, telling me they'd introduced me to Oprah Winfrey, all of this stuff. I was like, this is too much. This hard sell thing, I don't want people like that working on my behalf. I want people who are well-mannered, who don't take themselves too seriously, who represent me as how I am, and Samira does that. And then we chose people who do that, but American style. So they're great. And the only place that it gets a bit kind of off is publicists. I mean, Jesus, they're like a law unto themselves. I mean, so I have a publicist in London who's a deeply cool individual, and then we have the girls that are here that are starting out, and so we're kind of, but it's hilarious. I mean, it's hilarious. And also I'm a nightmare for them, you know, because they come to interviews and they're like, please stop talking. And I just love making them nervous because it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. It's like everybody's taking everything so seriously. You're like, oh God, if all of this, because there's this whole notion as well of making it in America too, which that was, you know, I'm good wherever you want to make it, then great. But the fact is, if it doesn't happen in the movies for me, I'm good. I'm so okay with that. Like, I don't, but it doesn't, but it's not where I, like having people who are kind of getting you to behave a certain way in order for things to happen in the way they I think I couldn't have written the last 15 years of my life, certainly not the last 3 years of my life. So I'm not going to start kind of sanitizing myself because I might not get a movie. Who cares? You know, I can go and work in theatre in England for the rest of my life now. I'm a big deal. I mean, just put me in front of an audience.
And so humble about it.
Oh, you're so humble. Always humble. So be humble and surround yourself with humble people. I exhaust myself.
Stephanie.
Yeah, I just in the beginning of things, when there are like periods when you're like, oh, I can see all the possibilities that this might be, and then there are other periods where it feels like things are kind of closing in, and sometimes negativity is a bit unavoidable. And you're coming from a perspective now where you can kind of see that whole period. Absolutely. And like see what was going on there a bit more clearly.
Yeah.
But also so many times tonight you've mentioned I said prayer, or like I did.
Yeah.
I'm curious about, like, in the periods of feeling a bit more negative about things, like what opened for you, or like what let you kind of like, is it a voice that you've always had, or did something change, or like did you find something?
No, I mean, look, I like you said, I'm looking at all of this now with the, like, I'm like, oh my God, it all makes sense. But like I said, I was on the phone to Samira, devastated when I thought that I was going to have to give up, and then I had to work through that. So I think I had to accept, so my friend always says there's awareness, acceptance, and action. And so awareness is fucking painful. So being aware of it might not go my way, none of this might happen, this is it's really, really painful, and I'm holding on, it's going to be okay, and then I have to accept, okay, maybe it's not going to happen, and work on that stage of it. And then I took action. So I did things like I started working in a nursery, surrounded myself with kids. They're just the best to hang out with because they don't give a shit what you do as long as you make them laugh and you give them what they want. And so, like me. So I surrounded myself with my peers. No, but I did a lot of yoga, meditation. I went on silent retreats. I'm a seeker, you know, I'm always looking for the next thing that makes me understand fundamentally that I'm more than this thing that we give a lot of importance to. And that's not always funny and pretty either. Like, I had some really, really dark, awful, terrible fucking times. But looking back on it, going through them and allowing myself to feel them had a profound effect going forward. It's when I try not to feel this stuff, that's when the problems start. So if I try and pretend, I'm totally fine, everything is completely fine. and I'm dying inside, I don't find that to be helpful anymore. So, you know, therapy, self-examination. I don't drink anymore. That started getting really boring. Just anything that takes the edge off. I don't want the edge to be taken off. I need the edge, because the edge is what allows me to do what I do. So actually, the life that I live now is a far more avant-garde life than I was living before, which is to live raw, you know, to live right in the fucking middle of it and feel all of it. And it's not always, you know, I'm having a really good run. It's amazing. But it hasn't always been that way. So I feel I've earned the right to be able to now go, fuck yeah, because I went through it. And I think that's why I connect with people, because you connect with people who you feel haven't skipped a step in any of this stuff, you know? It's not like I went out with somebody and as a result of that got famous, or, you know, I'm connected to the industry somehow. What you see here is hard fucking graft, inside and outside. So that's like, this young boy came up to me after the show last night, God bless him. I was like coming out of the theatre like that, and he said, I'm an acting student and can you give me any advice? I was like, no. How could I do that now? I mean, this takes years and years and years of grafting at yourself, because I want to be able to play fully functioning like humans in all their fucking glory. So I have to be one of them myself. And that means getting really ugly and messy. And my God, have I been ugly and messy in my life? I mean, I am beautiful and clean and tidy now. But you know what I mean? I joke about it, but I joke because I have earned that, you know, because I've seen how shitty it is. And being a woman in this industry, and as what has happened, you can't like have a conversation about being a woman in this industry and not mention Time's Up, you know, like what that man and many men and women did as a result of power. I don't even think it's a gender thing, you know, fucking power in this industry, what it can do and how it tells you what you're worth. So the only way I can combat that is by doing the work on myself. Like, if I don't do that, then I'm going to fall victim to the idea that I'm not as important as somebody else because I haven't made as many movies or something, you know? It's bullshit. So yeah, did that answer your question? Yeah. Takes a long time to get an answer.
Maybe do one more question. Is it back there, Max?
Max.
Hi, Max.
Hi, Denise. Max,
Hi.
nice to meet you.
You too.
I was wondering if you could talk about the first time you were ever on set with a camera.
Oh yeah.
And maybe the first or second time, and how you, I'm sure a lot of people in this room have gone through the same thing, like, oh, yeah, I'm here, great, I finally did it. How you took all of your theater training, and you're obviously a very grounded person, and what was going through your mind?
For now.
And how you approached that, and maybe learned from it and continue to learn from it.
Okay, so I hated it.
Yeah.
Being on a set, I hated it. I hated that thing. I
Why?
was like, what is that doing there? And why is it in my way? And why am I conscious that I'm doing something with that in my face? And then this fantastic older actress said to me, Denise, if you think about it, let's say you're at a party and the person that you love more than anything in the world is at that party and they're watching you. And you know that they're watching you, but you never make eye contact with them. But you're just aware that they're watching you, so every single thing you do at that party is knowing that that person is watching you. And I thought, she said that's what the camera is. And I was like, oh, because what she managed to do in that was to turn it into something really loving. So that thing's not out to get me.
Right.
It's there because it fucking loves me and wants me to tell it a story, but without looking directly down the lens. So it became, for me, it's a negotiation with me and a camera. I'm still like, I don't like having to do continuity. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, who cares where my fucking arm is, you know? but actually that now is becoming something, because, you know, I like to be good at stuff. So I'm gonna get really good at that. So now, like, when I remember exactly what I did in a different take and I'm able to replicate it, becomes the art of it for me. So it's a way more technical thing. And then I worked with Ken Loach. I did a film with Ken Loach, and he works, I mean, it was really annoying because you don't know what happens to your characters. You don't even know if you're a big part. Turned out I was a tiny part in it, and I was really upset. No, but he works sequentially, so it's like a play. So he does it all in order, and then you get your pages at the end of the day for the next day's shooting. And so that was kind of an interesting way to do it. And also, he never said action or cut. He would say, in you go. Out you come. It was so gentle. Like, everything was so gentle. And when I spoke to him about it, he was like, well, it's such an aggressive thing to say to an artist, to cut them, you know? To cut them right in. So he wanted to create everything in a very kind of soft space. But then he was like putting people who weren't actors into scenes, and it was like, I can't believe you're making me improvise with somebody who doesn't know how to improvise. I feel really embarrassed. So I'm a work in progress when it comes to filming, and I have a feeling that the same kind of journey will happen, where I will work with really great people, and I will watch them, and I'll watch how they handle themselves and behave, and then slowly I'll layer, like, you know, the part in Colette is not a huge, I don't want to do anything that I'm not ready for either, you know. Nice build, just to build up to getting used to what it is to be in front of a camera. It's all a process, and it's all progress, not perfection. You know, I'm big into that because I can be a perfectionist, and it's the death of art is perfection. So yeah, I'll be in a few shit things.
You're gonna buy that house.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be living in a huge house, but I'll be in loads of shit.
We're gonna end this part, but we're gonna keep going. We have things to drink and people to talk to, and continue this and see people you haven't seen in a while, and Chad, and stick around for a little bit.
But I can't stick around for long, I'm afraid, because I might die if I stay out much longer.
So if you need to go, you go, of course. But we're thrilled that you came. And
what fun. Talking about myself, love it.
It's just really lovely to hear you talk about what you do and how you do it and what it means to you, and the soul of it really comes out so much.
Because as much as I joke and laugh and everything, I have the deepest love of it. Like, for me, being on stage is the most glorious, like, to think that I now earn a living from doing that. Like, it's the one place I have no fear in my. It's the place that makes absolute sense. Being in front of an audience, a live audience, is just such a fucking privilege, you know. So I'm having the time of my life, and this is when the music should kick in.
You know, you can look on the blackboard out there on the website. I want to urge you to follow us on Twitter and all our Instagrams and Facebooks and our YouTube channel. Some of this will be on our YouTube channel. So you can look at clips of that and spread the word and pass it around and keep the studio thriving and healthy, because you're the studio. We don't advertise. We just are word of mouth, always have been, with like-minded people who want to learn and grow and be inspired. And thanks so much, Denise.
Thanks
It's a
a
real
lot.
pleasure.